Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a new live episode of He Said, He Said, He Said. A look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective. I'm your host, Alvin King, and we are back. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have been away from you for a minute, but we're back. I'm glad to be with you and cannot wait to get into the show. But before I make a move because we've been gone for so long and so many things have happened. I want to take this opportunity to first recognize Women's History Month, ladies and gentlemen. There are some phenomenal women in this world, and I want to take this opportunity to salute all of them in this month. Normally, or in past shows, we would have had some tributes to women or did something in honor of Women's History Month, but we are just getting back. But I definitely wanted to make sure that we recognize that this is the month of March for Women's History Month. Again, it's been 4 weeks. How you doing, Antoine? Thanks for joining us. We have been away from you, just actually doing what we need to do, from self-care to mental wellness to taking care of personal things to just actually rejuvenating ourselves for this show. And I want to thank everybody who's been reaching out, saying, where are you guys? Are you guys coming back? What's going on with you and all this kind of stuff. Thank you so much. And I just saw this woman pop on, and I got to say this. How you doing, Monica? In honor of Women's History Month, like I said, I know a whole bunch of phenomenal women, but I want to shout out to Monica. I know her personally, and there are some people in this world that I have in my life can just smile and make your whole day better. So, Monica, I want to say happy Women's Day month to you. You are Women's History Month to you because you are a phenomenal woman. I had to get that shout out to Monica. Okay, we have a great show lined up for you all tonight. In our financial health series, our episode, Money Matters, Mental Health. We will feature special guest Randy Jones, wealth management advisor for First Financial Group. And in our discussion tonight, we will explore the connection between mental health, mental wellness, and financial well-being. We are not psychiatrists, ladies and gentlemen. We are not medical doctors. However, Randy Jones is a financial subject matter expert and will provide his professional insights on how financial management can play a role in maintaining overall well-being. This conversation is for informational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Always consult a qualified medical professional for medical wellness concerns, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted to make sure that I got that disclaimer out to everybody because this show is going to be action-packed. One of the things that happened while we were gone, so many things were happening. And before I bring Sean on, in the past 3 weeks, the music world has mourned the loss of three remarkable artists. That would be Roberta Flack, Jerry Butler, and Angie Stone. Each of them left an indelible mark on the world, the music industry, and our hearts. So first, I want to recognize Roberta Flack, who was renowned for her soulful voice and emotive piano performances. She achieved widespread acclaim in the 1970s with hits like "The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face" and "Killing Me Softly" with his song that I'm sure everybody who's looking at us tonight know the words to. Both of those songs earning Grammy Awards. Miss Flack's ability to blend soul, jazz, and folk influences created a unique sound that resonated with audiences worldwide. We will definitely miss this phenomenal woman. The next person, Jerry Butler, affectionately known as the Iceman, was a founding member of the Impressions before embarking on a successful solo career. His smooth baritone voice delivered classics like "For Your Precious Love" and "Only the Strong Survive." Beyond music, though, Butler served as a Cook County Board Commissioner in Illinois for over 3 decades, demonstrating a deep commitment to public service. And last, tragically, we recently lost Angie Stone, who was a pioneering figure in the neo soul movement. Beginning her career with the hip hop trio Sequence, she later achieved solo success with hits like No More Rain, In This Cloud, and Wish I Didn't Miss You. Miss Stone's rich, emotive voice and heartfelt songwriting addressed themes of love, struggle, and empowerment, earning her multiple Grammy nominations. The contributions of Roberta Flack, Jerry Butler, and Angie Stone have enriched my life deeply. The musical heritage and their legacies will continue to inspire future generations, ladies and gentlemen. These three artists were like the music fabric of my life. And so it was really sad to see all of them pass away over the last several weeks. And we speak their name. Well, it's time to get on with the show, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't do what I do alone. So if you all are ready, let's get on with the chat. On.
Alvin, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I missed you, Sean.
I miss you, and I miss being here and engaging with everyone who comes to see us every Friday.
Well, thank you for being here, my friend. As I said, Bobby's not here today. He's taking care of some personal things, and I'm
Mhm.
sure he will share that with everyone once he comes back. But good to see you, man. What has been going on over the last 4 weeks with you? Anything you want to share with us?
Just the ordinary work, more work, more work. Work as a commissioner, trying to take care of my constituents, making sure that things get done. So it's been the routine thing, nothing to really write home about. But
Okay.
I'm alive.
There you are, and looking good at it too. I was saying backstage that one of the things that I love doing the show, but one of the things I didn't miss over the last 4 weeks was the research, looking at the news and being overwhelmed with all the negative stuff that goes on in the world right now, and with people losing their jobs and everything that this administration is doing. I mean, it can make the most sane person go insane. Okay,
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
yeah, so I think this show that we're doing tonight with Randy Jones is very timely. Yeah, I think it's very timely.
I agree as well. And I think folks are going to get a lot of great information out of this program tonight.
Yeah, yeah, and I first of all, I'm sorry, Sean. Let me say hello to these wonderful people who have been coming on here. JJ, thanks for coming to the show again. Hi, Monica, Sean, thank you for being here. We love you guys. Antoine, Rodney, E, thank you all for joining us tonight. Really appreciate you guys being here. I found a slide that I wanted to share with you, Sean,
Okay.
and it reads: poor mental health can contribute to poor money management. And then it says dealing with money issues and debt negatively impacts mental health. And when I found this slide, I said I was gonna have you look at it, and if you had anything to share about it, let me know. But I just found I it just seemed a little profound when I read it, of how money, no matter how you look at it,
Mhm.
can impact our mental health, no matter how you look at it. Whether sometimes when you have it, it can impact it, and then when you don't, it can impact your mental health. That's what this slide was basically saying to me.
No, I get it. I think it's real. And I think the thing is that money, income should not be the center of anything. I think if you
Mm.
do you, all of that will come and you will have some resolve within yourself and your world.
You better say that again. If I had a plate, I would pass it to you. I would have some money in that plate. Did you all hear what he said? How you doing, Kendall? How you doing, Raw Health? Thank you. Raw Health, I'm looking smart because my special guest makes me put on clothes, at least half of clothes when he comes on the show. Okay, so thank you very much for that compliment. And Sean, a couple of weeks ago, you
Mm.
said something. You brought up something about an
John,
actor who is now back on the scene, and
yes.
I just his movie is dropping today. Magazine Dreams with
Mhm.
Jonathan Majors. Mhm.
Yes, I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited that someone who is actually, in my opinion, naturally talented is getting his just desserts.
Mhm. Yeah, he's had a busy week. He got married the other day to Megan Good, and they have been dating a lot, and a lot has been coming out about them. How he said she lost jobs while she was dating him because people didn't want him, her dating him. And then I saw him on Wednesday on Sherry, and I'm telling you, I'm sitting here trying to work remotely, and I'm sitting up here crying watching him because I just believe everything he says. He's just such a good guy, on top of being a good actor. So I'm glad to see that this movie is dropping, and this movie has been in the making since before he had the incident. And
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, and that's what's terrible about this. And
Mhm.
I don't want to go down in that path because we are feeling good tonight.
Okay, I got you. I got you. I got you. And we want to make sure that if you guys haven't seen it, please support this movie. I like this actor, and I just think that you all should go see it. I'm definitely going to check out the movie. Charles, how you doing tonight? Well, if you all are ready, I want to get on with the show tonight because the gentleman who we have as a special guest has been here before. For those of you who watch us, he is our financial guru. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about him. His name is Randy Jones. He is a wealth management advisor with Financial Growth Partners who has been in the financial services industry for nearly 30 years. Randy lives his mission daily by helping families build legacies with the goal of being able to answer the question, if money weren't an issue, what would you do for someone else? He often tells his clients, your wealth is not defined by your money alone. It is also the difference you make in the lives of those you care about and meet. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the welcome back to the He Said platform, Randy Jones.
Hey, thanks guys for inviting me again. It is a pleasure to see you. I asked a person the other day, how often should you say Happy New Year? Well, if it's the first time I'm seeing you, then I say Happy New Year. And I'm sure it's going to be a great year.
Happy New Same to
Amen.
you, Randy. Thank you, man, for being here. Again, always a pleasure to have you on the show. I cannot say that enough.
Well,
So, this show tonight, because we have a lot of questions that we're going to ask Randy, and you guys feel free to weigh in on it because what's happening in the world today is affecting all of us. Okay, it's not black people, not men, not white people, not it is it's no everybody is being impacted by what's happening in the world, and it's impacting us financially and through our mental health. So, Randy, I'm gonna first of all kick off this first set of questions with the topic surrounding personal finances and mental wellness. So, first question: how can financial stress impact mental wellness, and what are some of the strategies to manage anxiety related to money?
I think, financial stress, I mean, most people are spending 95% of their life thinking about their money. Where can I find it? How can I make it? How can I keep it? And that in itself, occupying your headspace, stresses a lot of people out. I know people sometimes they make the statement, what keeps you up at night? And it's sometimes paying the bills. Some of the
Mhm.
things that you can do is just, I tell people, pause for a second, take a deep breath and relax. Sometimes when we have a mountain of situations in front of us, we think that we need to attack that mountain all at once. And I just say, all we really need to do is focus on the first step.
Hmm. Thank you, Britton. So, thank you. So, how can someone develop a healthier emotional relationship with money, especially if they have financial trauma or a bad financial situation?
I often will tell people the best way to deal or build a healthier relationship is to, you know, face it. A lot of times the unknown is the biggest monster in our mind, you know, that we have to conquer. But you've learned this many times in your life when you sit down and you look at your problem face to face, it typically is never as big as you think it is or never as bad as you think it is. So I say take time and just go ahead and say, all right, let me just look at it and stop thinking that, oh, it's worse than what it is, when you really just look at it and say, okay, here's what it actually is. All progress starts with the truth.
You know, I love that, because if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying take the bull by the horns, if you will. But let me ask you that, because you did, like you said, you face it. So what role does financial planning play in reducing stress and improving overall well-being? So you can't face it without having a plan. So how does one take on that?
I think, when you think about financial planning or something like that, people think of it from the complexity. I tell people, look, let's take out a notepad. Write down all of the money you have. Because most people, when they think about what's, stressing them or on their mind, it's all about what they owe. People can list all of their bills. People can list all of the debt, but list all of your income. And then we can have a better conversation about how are we going to allocate it. Okay. So that's how you sort of take the bull by the horns. Stop focusing on what you don't have, and let's start paying attention to what you do have. And then we can make better decisions around that.
Okay, and like you said, if you have that mountain, you said take one step at a time. So right. I asked the question: what are practical steps to regain a sense of financial control during uncertain times?
First, looking at it, taking time and saying, okay, I'm not going to be beat by my finance. People come to me and say, I'd like my money to work for me. So that means you are the boss. So sit down with your employee called your money and say, here's what I want you to do. Every dollar needs to have a job. But I think what happens in people's lives, they let their money dictate all the things that they do versus they dictate what their money is going to do. So I said, face it, and then start with a simple plan of what am I going to do? What's important? And then we start to set some priorities.
It's interesting you also say that, because people are thinking about the price of things, if you will. So with that being said, let's go to a different topic now. Let's go to economic uncertainty and preparation. So with inflation and rising costs of living, how should people adjust their budgets and savings plans?
Well, you hear about eggs being $18 and $20 a dozen, or, it's just like when gas was $5 a gallon,
Unless you know a farmer in South Carolina.
Unless you know a farmer. But you think about it like this. I give this analogy about water, I could put a bucket of, I would tell people, spring water is dirtier than purified water, but spring water costs more than purified water. And as a matter of fact, if I put a bucket of spring water and a bucket of purified water right beside a water fountain, I would sell all the spring water first and then the purified water second, before anybody take a drink of the free water fountain. It's perspective. Yeah. What you need to be able to do is have a different perspective of how you think about your money and what you should focus on. Inflation is out there. What do I really need? Because a lot of our life is built on what we want. We spend more money on what we want than what we need. And these might just be times that we need to focus on, all right, let's prioritize what we need and speckle in a little bit of what we want in there. I'm not saying that you need to go all the way to one side or the other, but let's create some balance.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to tell all of our viewers to just set $1 aside every time Randy drops something to you all, okay? Because there's a plate being passed. I'm telling you, you all are going to leave here better than when you're going to leave here feeling better than when you arrived today after this conversation with Randy. Let me weigh in on some of the viewers. Monica had a question, Monica, and we're going to get to this. How would you invest $500 in the market? And a Raw Health said, hey, Randy, and the people, myself included, need not to do any retail therapy to release stress. Okay, see, Raw, we get into that. I know how you feel, my brother. So, Randy, what are smart ways to invest or save during a time of political and economic instability?
Here's the thing. Everybody wants to invest like Warren Buffett, right? Money is emotional and logical. And I'll give an example. We all know it doesn't make sense to buy an $80,000 Mercedes because the value of it goes down the moment you come off the lot. But it sure does feel real good to ride off the lot in one. And so it's about the emotional and the logical part of it. So, we know that we should buy stocks low and sell stocks high, but emotionally we do the opposite. So in a time when the stock market or the economy is crazy, those are opportunities. I think more people spend their life saying that they're half full, but they're actually thinking in a half empty way. So find the opportunities. Sometimes people look at the table and they see all the things that they're missing this is leaving my life. I'm losing this. I'm losing this. But if we're all just stewards anyway, maybe God might give you an opportunity. He's clearing your plate so that you can fill it right again.
Well, I do, yeah. But I want to let everyone know that I am a Volvo guy, not Mercedes. That's the first thing.
I'm not gonna tell my business tonight. Okay, y'all might judge me some.
But in all seriousness, though, people are losing their jobs then, and they are trying to figure out ways to plan, if you will. So how can someone prepare for potential job loss, a recession that we keep hearing about over and over again, or other unexpected financial setbacks? Because those things are literally tomorrow for a lot of us.
Right. So here's the thing. Stop being reactive in your life. Start being proactive. Like the question before about what do you do with $500? Sometimes people ask me, what should I do? Where should I invest $500? I said, well, how much money will you have left in your savings account and you take out the $500? They say nothing. I said, then leave it in your savings account. They said, well, my money's not making any money. I said, yes, it is. Your money is making 10% and 12% and 25%. Because the one thing that's constant in our life is the unexpected. And if we take the money out of our savings account, you typically finance it on 10% and 12% and 29% on credit cards. So keeping money in your savings account, building that reserve fund is the first thing that you need to do. And focusing on what are we living off of, setting down and not creating a budget, because that's a reactive way, but a spending plan. Like I said, how are we going to allocate the money that we currently have? And planning for the fact, okay, if I lose my job tomorrow, what are the things that we're going to do? How are we going to, move forward? I would not say let your mind be consumed on the what ifs. They say if was a fifth, everybody be drunk, right? So what I would say is that, come up with a plan. The same way they used to teach us when we were kids, here's the fire escape plan if my house catches on fire. Just build a little basic plan and don't overwhelm yourself.
Yeah.
So, Randy, you definitely have kind of tipped on what I'm about to ask you, but my thing is in 2016, when the current administration was in office, that was a wake-up call to people about how they should start saving their money or even watching their money. And I don't think anyone paid attention to that. And I did. And so my next question is, what financial habits should people develop now to better weather economic downturns? Because I developed some habits in 2016 to 20 because I just saw this person is not a good person and my money wasn't doing what it was supposed to do in 2016. So what financial habits should people develop now to better weather economic downturns?
Test yourself. I often tell people wealth is hidden in the words that define it. The difference between wealthy people and everyday people isn't their money, but just the way that they think about their money. They say a man is as he thinketh, but test yourself. See if you can put money aside right now. Because most people, they think they pay themselves first, but when you receive your money, your check goes into your bill account and then you pay yourself second for your savings. So then set up in your paycheck. Hey, I'm gonna allot $500 into a savings account, but I'm going to live off the rest of it. Now, if you don't go blind, cripple, and crazy by the end of the month, guess what? You're saving $500.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Something practical you can do right now. Doesn't require any magic or anything. Just say, I'm going to set up an allotment, put it in my savings account.
See, well, we have a couple of people who have joined us. Robert Blue Beatty, thank you for joining us tonight. Robert, we have time. We're going to get to your question, but I want to read what you asked. How do you get people from talk to action? They know they should save, invest, but many keep talking and not moving towards saving and investing. So I'm gonna save this question, Randy, because we're gonna come back to that because we're gonna have some opportunity for you to speak to the viewers tonight. So
okay,
you all stick around. This next topic that we're going to go into before we go into like a little break is about long-term financial wellness. So my first question to you, Randy, is what are the best ways to plan for retirement in an unstable economy?
we've had different economies throughout our life before us, and there'll be different, unstable economies after us. Everybody, none of us here have ever experienced a pandemic, and we all made it. What you should do is lean on your past experiences. It's called the hindsight theory. We always had situations in our past when it came to finance that we thought that we may not be able to overcome or, grow past or go past, and we made it through all of those. Remind yourself that even when I thought I wasn't going to make it before, I made it. Even when I thought I wasn't, and the older you get, you got more proof that you will make it. Part of it is mental. I mean, we're talking about mental health and finance. All you have to do sometimes is not become overwhelmed, and you just take a second and just pause and say, okay, all right, I can make it there. What is the one thing that I'm going to do? Where am I going to focus? And how am I going to start? Start with $1. I think we're trying to solve a problem all at once. But success does not happen overnight, but neither does failure. So create some small habits that you can start to build on. Small successes. And next thing you know, that tick, tick, tick will be like a line, another stream of income, another way that it helps you, build a reserve account for the unexpected, because that's the one thing that's constant in all of our lives. Getting more money isn't something that you can control. You can work and strive for it, but let's learn to work with what we have a little bit better than what we've been doing.
I think that's a great message. And I think that for a lot of us, those of us who are older or up in age, I like to believe that most of us get that, but I fear that a lot of young folks are having a difficult time accepting that and learning that. So how should younger generations balance debt repayment, like student loan debts, for example, with investing in their future?
Well, I guess from a student loan perspective, I often tell people what you're going to school for, that's the investment. Hopefully it will yield the return that you want in your career or in your life. But I think younger people, a lot of times as we're older, we always want to tell younger people, you should do this, you should do that. But the advice I would give to younger people is ask older people, how did you make it? Because younger people now are making 2 and 3 times much as their parents did. You think about it. Your grandmother or your great grandmother made a fraction of what you make today. And how did she have money back then? She didn't have an investment account. She didn't have, banks. Back then, as a matter of fact, a lot of people didn't trust banks,
Aretha Franklin.
How did they do that? So I would ask older people, and sometimes it's not what you should do that is the lesson, but they may tell you the story about what they did, which will teach you what you shouldn't do. And that might be the blessing.
I told you all the plate is being passed. I'm sure you all are going to look at this show over again, because Randy, you are saying some stuff that people really, really, really need to hear, and I hope the takeaway is good. What financial steps should people take to ensure long-term security for themselves and their families? And I mean, I'm leaning more toward thinking about a living will or trust. Can you speak to that to that question, Randy?
Here's the low-hanging fruit. Open up your bank accounts, open up your retirement accounts, and go find the beneficiary section and type the name of the person you want your money to go to. Sometimes people ask me about wills and trusts and things. I say, well, have you just at least designated who is going to be the beneficiary on your accounts? Well, no, I was going to get a will and trust. I said, well, do that first. Put on your bank account, TOD, transfer on death. Put on your house, TOD, transfer on death. Those are some of the easy things, because to get a will and the trust done, it could be anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000. Now, granted, that's absolutely worth it, because if you don't have a will, an estate judge can say they can charge up to 3 to 5% of the value of your estate. And some people think, well, I got a house that's worth 500 and I owe 400. So you're talking about, the difference on the equity? No, 3 to 5% on that $500,000 value. So that's $15,000 to $20,000. So $2,000 to $3,000 for will and trust is really, cheap, but you can just put the beneficiaries on your accounts. You can put TOD on your account. And stop going to all these different online things and trying to become your own lawyer. You wouldn't do that and become your own doctor, okay? So get some legal advice too,
Where there's a episode in the comic books, the Justice League, when they ask Superman and some others, what happened to all your lawyers? And they say, we killed them all. But no offense to the lawyers out there. But needless to say, you spoke about homes, okay? And, there are a lot of homeowners out there, and we hope to get more homeowners as well. So some folks are not familiar with the HELOC. So for our audience, what is a HELOC? And if applicable, what are your thoughts on homeowners utilizing their HELOCs?
Well, I'm also an expert in real estate. Used to run a mortgage company, own a mortgage company, still a licensed lender. HELOCs means a home equity line of credit. It is sort of like accessing the equity in your property for different reasons in your life. I think money is a tool, like a hammer. Everybody's trying to acquire and accumulate their hammers. But my question to everybody is, what are you building with it? So sometimes people abuse things like home equity lines of credit. They just siphon the money out of their properties and then to consume it, And some people use it as a great tool where it may consolidate debt and help them create new habits and create new disciplines that help them save more money. I think a lot of times people said long-term strategies. People need to not learn how to save 20%, but people need to learn how to live off of 80%. Because saving is like denying yourself. Living is what we really want to do, but you just need to figure out, can I live within this? And the byproduct will be that you save.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling, okay, I've been telling y'all, I told y'all, bringing him on the show, first of all, I warned you, okay? Because you're going to leave here better than when you arrived, all right? So you're going to hear me say that a couple of times. But Randy, before we let you go, I have a question. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a brief intermission. And when we come back, we're going to focus our questions or the questions for Randy on government workers and losing their jobs or job loss and the financial stress behind all of that. But Randy, how can individuals and families approach estate planning and wealth transfer in uncertain times? Does that make a difference in how they should or should not approach it?
Uncertain times with the pandemic. I probably did more estate planning that year because people had the fear of dying sooner than they thought they would. And so I think anything like saving money, doing your wills and trust, it's important to start now.
Right.
Stop spending time on what you didn't do before, but just start right now. Do something right now. I saw something in here. Somebody said, how do you take people from talk to action? You say, hey, a person said, why should I use you? I said, well, you haven't used anybody in 30 years, so you tell me. So look, take action now. You have total control of right now. You can't do anything about yesterday. You sure not promise tomorrow. So take action now.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing, Troy Patterson? Thank you for joining us. And I want to say one Rebel channel. Yes, Randy's bringing the fire. He always does. All right. So thank you for joining us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a brief intermission so Randy can drink some water and come back and give you some more fire. So don't go away, and we will be right back.
Hi, this is United States Senator Cory Booker, thrilled to be able to recognize the 193rd anniversary of the Black Press of America and the 80th anniversary of the NNPA. We truly stand on the shoulders of giants. We have a history so rich with leaders in the Black press, names we know from Frederick Douglass to Ida B. Wells, so many people who were committed to telling the truth, not letting it be watered down or whitewashed. So many people that were willing to, with the truth, with their writing, with their journalism, to inspire, to ignite, to inform activists, citizens, and so many. Indeed, we have inherited a rich legacy, and we honor that legacy, not just by recognizing it, but by continuing it, so that we may give honor to our ancestors' struggles and may give way for a better future for our children not yet born. We have work to do. May we continue to support the Black press and its essential role in the United States of America today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being with us tonight. And on our show tonight, we have Randy Jones, and Randy is here with us talking about money matters and mental health, ladies and gentlemen. Again, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for allowing me to be this individual who can start off this next segment by talking about coping with job loss and financial stress. So I have friends who are in the federal government, and some of them are fearful. So what are the first financial steps someone should take after losing their federal job, that security that we thought would be there for 30 years?
Well, if you go to the OPM site, they're starting to publish a lot of information for federal workers. I would say reach out to OPM if you don't call them, or go online. They have a chat. Talk to your managers, your HR people, about what are the options. Pull out the benefit summary that you have from the federal government to see what are the things that you can take advantage of. There are people you can call, because some people are dealing with the stress that I don't have a job and I think I've been doing all the right things, and they can give you some advice. Sit down, whether you have a financial advisor, an accountant, or somebody that you rely on to give you some financial advice. Hey, can you help me figure out how I'm going to make it? Here are what my expenses are. A lot of times, people get overwhelmed. You hear me reference a spending plan as a proactive way of managing your finances, and a budget is a reactive way of managing your budget. Your finances. The good thing about it is that everybody has been taught a spending plan. You just forgot it the day that you got direct deposit. So this is just an old muscle that you need to, sort of get back to work slowly but surely. Yeah. And when I say everybody had it, people are like, well, how do you know? When you were a kid and your parents gave you $20 and your friends said, we're going to the movies, the mall, and skating, you're like, I can only do 2 out of 3. Right. So you work with what you have. Because that's all that you can do. Sometimes we worry about what we don't have, but while we ignore all the things that we do have.
Well, in my case, growing up on the farm in the country of South Carolina, it was 50 cents.
Well, I've heard about that, penny candy, you get change back. I don't know how that works, but
yeah. I would have been a king with $20, But again, I'm going to date myself in terms of my age, and I'm still 35 years of age.
Okay.
But yes, we've seen the videos on Instagram and Facebook of the federal employees. They're in tears and what have you, and it's sad to see them in that state of affairs. So in your professional experience, how have your clients managed the emotional and mental wellness challenges of sudden unemployment?
Well, my clients who are in the government, we've been proactive. Because when you build a plan, a financial plan isn't based on if everything goes right. It's based on if everything goes wrong, can I still live the life that I've always wanted to live? And so what I have done in that situation with clients of mine, I reassure them, this is what we've trained for. This is what we've planned for. This is the day that your plan was designed for. Because when everybody's winning, you really don't need a plan. It's when you have this, does my plan work now? And so what I would suggest people, that's what I deal with my clients, but people who may not have an advisor, look at the resources that you have. Some people have a 401k, some people have a TSP. Now, I'm not saying go out there and liquidate it or anything like that, but remember, you have resources. And sometimes people say, well, that's my retirement. I say, wealth is hidden in the words that define it. Your TSP is a retirement account. It's not your retirement. It's just a part of it. So look at the option that you have and start to make some choices and decisions and say, how can it help me? And not really be a thing that you depend on, but how can I plan knowing that I can help? There may be loans that you can take from your retirement that you could pay back once you get back on your feet, but look at those options and see which one's going to work best for you.
Yeah, great advice.
And to our viewers, this line of questioning that we're having with Randy is really again geared toward the government workers that that some of some of us you don't know are losing their jobs or in fear of losing their jobs. And so perhaps you can take this information that Randy is sharing with you back to them, because I'm sure with everything that's going on, they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. So this information tonight is really helpful that Randy is sharing with us. So Randy, I do have a few folks that I know who have lost their jobs or in fear of losing their jobs. So how can individuals balance the need to cut expenses while still maintaining a sense of normalcy and stability through all this?
I think the first thing that happens when people hear that, like you hear one agency, people were let go or they dismantled, you see on TV, the USAID and stuff like that, can that happen to me? And they panic. When I taught my kids how to swim, I said, when you in trouble in water, don't fight the water because you can't win. First thing for you to do, even if you sink a little bit, is just to gather yourself. And that's what happens. The first thing you do, even if you sink a little bit in your situation, just gather yourself and say, okay, now what can I do? What should I be doing? And so I think fear is the thing that, stops us from finding solutions. Yeah. I've said it multiple times and, I don't have any better or different answers. Pause for a second and just say, okay, all right. So what am I going to do? What do I have? Get all your resources together and then start to make decisions on what can I cut back? What do I need to cut back? But balance it too. Don't go all the way to extreme. Like I'm not going to do anything in my life, because then you might have some money, but you're going to really be unhappy. So still, you may not do as much of the things you like to do, but do some things. I mean, shucks, you may like to go out to dinner, but why not have a picnic? That might be a different way. You got to start to think differently about how you enjoy your life. There are lots of times that you had tons of fun and enjoyment in your life and it didn't involve money. So don't say that money is everything in your life and it's going to continue to make your life. So look at what you have, start to plan for, okay, what can I do? And be creative when it comes to what am I going to cut out of my life? I'm going to cut some of the fluff and some of the fat, but I'm still going to have enjoy in life, because what's it all for too? You need to have a balance on both sides.
Yeah.
There's some folks I know in my life that I'm looking at side-eyed, said, y'all, I wonder how you all gonna make that work, okay? But first of all, I want to say thank you to Robert Blue Beatty, who answered a question for Monica and provided some information about the question she had about how can she invest $500. So he put some information in there for Monica. Thank you, Blue, for doing that. Randy, what strategies can help people remain financially and emotionally resilient during a prolonged job search?
If you have a reserve fund, if you built up, 3 months to 6 months to 9 months. And here's the thing. Sometimes people say, well, you got to stop thinking about your retirement plans as a part of your religion. It's money. Money has come and gone in our life multiple times. And as a matter of fact, when we lose it, we make it back faster because we know the mistakes that we did before and we don't repeat them. And so one of the ways that you can do it is like say, well, you might have to do a TSP delay. And then what that means is that you don't contribute to it right now. If you're in fear of losing your job, you say, hey, I'm going to stop contributing so I can bring more money home and I can build that nest egg faster. That might be an option. You might say, I may need to, if I have lost my job, well, my income is low. And just depending on your age and things like that, You might be able to take a hardship loan from your retirement plan. You might even, if you had to cash out, you cashing it out at a lower tax rate because your income is down. There are lots of different options out there, but you're just going to have to become creative when it comes to finding solutions in your life. And, and investing isn't always the way to go to try to prepare for the unknown or the unforeseeable, and so I would say, just remember you got options. You got options.
That's
and
key.
You will make it.
That's key. Knowing that you have options and knowing what's out there, and a lot of people haven't taken the opportunity to even do the research because they want a quick fix, and they're looking at what's in front of them instead of, what's beyond them. That you just taught me something about my TSP of what I could do. I mean, to stop it at least, if that's an option. Now,
yeah,
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Back on.
I'm gonna be honest with you. As hard as it was to get it started, to stop it, see, that would deter me right there. Say, okay, I need another option for something. You know what I'm saying? But that is an option that I didn't even know was available, Randy.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that it was available.
You can log into the site and say, hey, stop my contributions. Then you're bringing more money home. And a lot of people say, well, then I'm going to be taxed on that money. All right. You want to be taxed on a little bit of money? You want to be taxed on a lot of money? People say a little bit. I said, well, then that means that's what you're doing. You're getting taxed on a little bit of money. But the most important thing is not tax or I am taxed or not taxed, but I have cash flow to weather the storm. That's what you want. And then when the storm passes, what do? You go back into your online thing and turn it back on and get back to work.
And make it work.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move to our next topic for Randy, which is short-term financial stability for those who are going through the situation of losing their jobs or thinking that they're going to lose their jobs or have lost their jobs.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I do think that people are trying to make adjustments. But some folks want to travel. Some people still want, like you say, eat out in restaurants versus going to picnics. So, how should someone adjust their budget after losing a steady government salary?
Well, my thing would be first write it out. Some people say, is there software or an app? I guess you could do that. I tell a person, get a piece of paper. Get a piece of paper. This might be the first time that you looked at your bills. I mean, I have a lot of clients, they got Hulu, Netflix, and all the streaming service, so and so and so and so, and they got 19 people on their accounts. You might have to tell everybody else they might have to get their own account, I mean, you're paying for cable in pieces when you used to pay it in bundles. And now I'm not saying sit in the dark and don't watch TV, but when it comes to assessing your budget, write it out, look at it, open up your app, see what you've been paying. This is a great, 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 great opportunity for you to become aware. When I help people find money in their life, they think that I'm coming with some magic trick or something like that. I said, no, we're just going to look at your money because you haven't been paying attention to it. That's all.
Okay.
When I look at a person's documentation, I'm able to find the 20 to 25% that exist in their life. And they always ask me, how? I said, because I just looked at your money. You've just been ignoring it. And then I show it and I said, let's go through your bank statement. Let's see what you've been paying for. We got Easy Pass, but I set it for $200 and I've been doing that. I got a car wash thing. My kids are using my Uber account, but I'm paying for it and they're doing it, So, I mean, there's a lot of fluff in people's lives that they don't realize that they have. I do it all day, every day with anybody, any circumstance or situation. And there's always way more money in your life than you thought you had. You just don't see it. Because people think they lose money like hundreds and thousands of dollars at a time. No, you lose at 619, 238, 812, $10 at a time, a couple of hundred times. That's where the thousands of dollars go. Now, I'm not telling you, everybody get back on ramen noodles. I'm not talking about that lifestyle, but I'm just saying.
It could help. It could help some people, but check your choices. Okay,
that's a good one. Check your choices.
Check your choices. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Well, it sounds like that you're telling people to prioritize their bills, and And I get that, but I'm not giving up the Grey Goose or the Kelda One. But needless to say, so again, and I think you already answered this question already. So prioritize your bills, like you were saying, like if you have Netflix with other people, do whatever you have to do. But is that what you're saying in terms of prioritizing?
Yeah, because I mean, there are a lot of people that have. I had a client, and she was had an $18,000 student loan, but didn't realize that she had $22,000 and another savings account that she hadn't seen in a while, just because she hadn't been paying attention. And her student loans were paying $300-400 a month. I said, why don't you just take that money? She said, I didn't even know I had that money. I was like, because you're just not looking at it. So yeah, prioritize it. And then people have accounts that they don't use, but other people use and they pay for.
See, I'm sorry, but I don't have that issue. But okay. Okay, and I'm glad that I don't. Okay, I don't have that issue, but shame on them. Okay. So Randy, look, because I know we're running a little short on time, but I want to ask you, how should federal employees tap in, and how should federal employees tap into retirement accounts or emergency savings? And wait a minute, should federal employees tap into retirement accounts or emergency savings? And if so, what's the smartest way to do it? And I know you kind of alluded to or have responded to some of that during the course of the conversation.
One thing I would say is that, all of the 800 numbers in the customer service, call them and let them give you your options. I mean, they'll tell you, you can download information about the TSP. You can download information about your 401k, but call the people who run your accounts and say, here's my situation. What option do I have? Let them detail, and then ask them, well, what's the pros and what's the cons of that? Of course, people are going to say, well, I can't give you tax advice, but give me advice about what you manage. I mean, if I'm your advisor, I should be able to give you advice on what I'm helping you with. If these are the people, the managers of your account, they should be able to give you advice on how to manage your situation with what you have and what you've created through their institutions. And so it may be an option that you have to liquidate. That's not a bad thing. Didn't say you can't rebuild, but there might be other ways to do things too. But you just got to first ask the people the questions. Sometimes we create all of our own answers and we never ask a professional the question.
That part. Well, Randy, you answered a question earlier, so I had another question for you, but you answered it. So I'm gonna let Sean, if you could bring us into our next and final topic for Randy.
Yes, certainly. So yeah, thanks, Alvin. The topic is long-term financial security. So here's the question: how should displaced federal workers reassess their retirement plans after a job loss?
Well, I mean, if you were close to retirement, you may have looked at it and say, hey, I'm taking an early retirement. Assessing your retirement plan. I often tell people retirement is not a destination, it's a transformation. Because most people think that they're going to retire and it ends. But retirement, think about it. When you're growing up, you got A's in elementary school to go to middle school, to go to high school, to go to college. We were getting C's and D's in work. That's why it's called on-the-job training. What are we training for? Retirement is not a destination, it's a transformation to be able to do what you've been put here to do without the confines of having to go to work. And that's a long-term strategy. So those who have lost their job, don't change your strategy of who you're going to be when you don't have to go to work. You may want to go to work. This is just a short-term blip. If you took your life and spanned it over here, this is just a dot on it. It's not your whole life. So don't panic and unravel and undo all the hard work and thought process that you put into planning your retirement. All you need is a Band-Aid for this gap, a bridge, or what they say, over troubled water, right?
Yep.
So that you can then get to the place that you said that you're going to be. And I'm sure you will make it. So keep your long-term plan in mind and just come up with a short-term solution so you can get back on track. We always get off track in life, but we get back on track too.
Yeah, I know that with that, a lot of folks are thinking about their credit scores. So how can someone protect their credit score and financial reputation during the extended period of unemployment?
So look at what bills that you have. Might be opportunities to say, I can do a transfer to another account with a 0% I don't know, finance on balances. Or you call your creditors and say, hey, here's what I am. Here's what I'm dealing with. Everybody is hearing about what's happening in the federal government. So people are making phone calls. But here's what you'll do. I'm gonna see what I can do first before I call anybody, because I'm a person that always pays my bill. People look at their credit as a representation of who they are, but not how they manage money. Nobody walks out the house and say, I got my keys, my cell phone. Oh, shucks, I left my credit report. Let me go back in the house and get it. You know? Right? And everybody wants to be financially free, right? Which means not use credit. So what difference does credit make? I have to teach all about credit one day, because I will tell you this: credit does not exist until you request it. But back to your question. So with the credit, what I would say is make phone calls. Ask your creditors, hey, I am in the government. I have been furloughed or lost my job or something. I want to, my payment has come up. I'd like to negotiate a payment schedule that works temporarily. It's just a phone call. If you don't ask, it's 100% of a no. If you do ask, the odds got better by 50%. So I would say have a conversation with your creditors. Stop paying extra on your bills. Go back to your minimum payments. That's not a bad thing either. We're trying to free up cash so that you can close the gap on where you currently are until you can get to where you want to be.
Well, look, Randy, we did have two more questions for you, but I'm going to go right to the end because of time. So, Sean, please forgive me. I'm going to go ahead and go to the end. And because we did promise some of our viewers that if Randy could answer some of their questions, they would. Thank you all for being here tonight. So, Randy, again, thank you for joining us tonight and sharing your insights on money matters and mental wellness. Here at He Said, we always like to leave our audiences with a key takeaway. So, based on everything we've discussed, what is one essential piece of advice that you'd like to leave our viewers with before you take off?
I guess y'all can tell the way I answer questions, I'm a different type of advisor. I manage a whole lot of money, millions, right? But I have to tell people, wealth is hidden in the words that define it. You hear me repeat them. They call them my Randyisms. I asked this question to all of my clients in the very beginning. On your last day here, you got all of your great grandkids, God willing, around your bed, and the smallest one comes to the head of the bed and leans over to you. Is it your bank account that you're going to talk about? And they go, no. It's the difference you made, the impact that you had. Who loved you and who did you love? Keep that in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Our life is the story we tell, not the money we have. It's the experiences that we create, not the money that we have. It's the difference that we make, not the money that we have. Our money is just a tool. Everybody's trying to get a hammer. But I'm asking the question, what are you building with it? And so you got to take the hammer that you currently have and still build something worth living for. Because the life that we've always wanted to have is the one that's given to us right now, despite of our control. And so take control of your life, the moment that you have, and do the best that you can. And stop wondering and worrying that other people are doing better or worse than you, because it's your life, the one life to live. And so I would say, remember that. And all of this stuff, because you've been through this before in some form or fashion. Yeah. You'll get through it. And just know that you'll be okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, I told you and I warned you before the show even started that he's a bad motor scooter. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Randy Jones, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Look, you guys, you can go to his website, mrrandyjones.com. You can tell him you're from He Said. Ask him any question that you want. He will respond to you because he's that guy. Okay, but Randy, you have fulfilled the mission of He Said Live tonight. And I want to thank you for coming on and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and your expertise on money matters and mental health. So, Randy, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for letting me come and talk.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean, as always. Ladies and gentlemen, next week, we will be back and Bobby will be back with us, and we will have a new episode of Let's Get Newsy before we go into our April series, in which we have an action packed April series for all of you all. But I cannot leave you without giving you our words of the week, which is you can't enjoy wealth if you're not in good wellness. All right? You cannot. Okay? You cannot enjoy wealth if you are not in good health. I say good wellness, but it is in good health, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you next week and on a new live episode of He Said, Randy.
And he said.
All right, see, there you have it. You guys have a great weekend and, take care. Thank you for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.